Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, as the title says, I thought that we would review all of my rare beauty products that I got. And since I suck at cream, this is gonna be super fun, especially with that blush, because I have no idea how that's gonna go. And then for the eyes, I thought that we would use the HipDot Zion palette, which is for fall, pretty great. Just some nice reds and purple tones on there with some oranges, so I thought that would be kind of a nice sunset look that I could do for my eyes. But let's just go ahead and immediately jump into everything because I'm super interested to see how this goes, and I am going to take the risk and do my face first so you guys can see right away how the rare beauty stuff goes, and then just really hope that the HipDot stuff doesn't get out of control as my eyeshadows normally do. So first thing up that I have is the primer. It's just in this little tube. I got the smaller one because since I have no idea how this is gonna go, I just figured I would get the small, you know? I think it's nice that they offer that instead of you just immediately having to spend more money on the larger one. Okay, so as this comes out, this is what it looks like. Just a little bit of a goop on there. It does have some slight glitter, it looks like, on there. I'm just gonna throw this on my face. My hair is, of course, in the way, as it always is. So I have way too many flyaways. It does feel nice on the face. It's not too heavy. It's light. Okay. And there we go. I'm not noticing any kind of like severe tint or anything, just a slight smidge of a glow. If you like some of the luminizer type things that you can put under your foundation, this might be a good option if you're not wanting to go quite that heavy, but you still want like a little bit of something, because it does seem to have a slight shimmer to it. But the next thing that we're going to go into is going to be the foundation. This looks way too dark for my skin. I'm going to throw that out there right now. So I'm hoping that, yeah, there's a fun little ball thing in there, much like nail polishes do. So that's fun. In case anyone's curious, this is the shade 230N. I do recall when I was on the website having a hard time trying to figure out like what my shade actually is. So fun fact on that one. And it is a doe foot applicator. So if you're not a fan of that, which I'm typically not, then this may or may not be for you. It's super duper liquidy. But here we go. I'm just gonna add in a couple stripes on my forehead. Do a couple stripes on my cheeks. And on the nose. All right. And I do have the two brushes that I got from them. They're kind of these cute little angled brushes, and so I'm gonna use the foundation brush on my face. So let's just brush this in. The brush is firm. 'Tis firm. 'Tis firm. I'm also not a huge fan of using brushes just because I find that, for me at least, even though I don't have very dry skin, I typically lean more towards oily, it pulls on my skin enough to where it makes it look very dry and patchy. So that's why I don't typically use them. Yeah, this is definitely not my shade. I can 100% say that already. It's very yellowy on me and certainly too dark. Very reminiscent of the Benefit foundation that I have that is also way too dark for me. But who knows, maybe being here in Arizona I will get magically tan enough to where this does become fitting for my face, but for right now it is not the correct shade. But I think that the brush is actually doing a pretty nice job of spreading the product around. I don't think that it's patchy really at all in any areas. It definitely has a very hydrating look to it in the mirror. I'm not sure how that's picking up on camera, if there's a super glow to it, but it definitely looks wet on my face. just really have to focus on pulling it down on my neck so that there's not like that horrible, hideous line. Because since it definitely is not my shade, I'm gonna try and pull it out in a couple areas. I can definitively say that it's not full coverage because I do have some like spots and scarring from acne that I had when I was younger, and it has not really covered up any of that. So interesting, because the way that it goes on, you would think it's going to be more of a full coverage foundation, but I would say medium at best. But honestly, I think it's a little bit of a lighter foundation, but it feels heavy. It does not feel light. Like the primer felt light, this feels a little bit thicker on my face. But that was the foundation. So then next up, I do have the concealer, and clearly in a lighter shade. So I'm going to attempt to use this to try and balance out I mean, in the camera, I feel like it doesn't look too bad, but it's definitely not the correct shade. And so hopefully that this concealer will help to make it a little bit better. So also, tiny little doe foot. And here we go. And that is way lighter. I normally don't put too much concealer on, but in this case, because I'm also trying to blend that shade out a little bit more, I'm adding in a bit more. And I do have a nice concealer brush to really get in the lines on there, so we're going to use that for around the eyes. Just paint that on. And I do kind of like the idea of having a concealer brush for around the eyes, because using my sponge definitely means that it's not quite so precise. Go back in with the foundation brush to blend out the rest of the concealer on my face so that it kind of blends in with that foundation shade, but just lightens it up a smidge so that it looks a little bit more correct with my skin tone. Okay, I do think that that helped to lighten it up a bit, but it feels very heavy on my skin. Like, it does not feel great. Definitely, I mean, you can for sure tell that I have a ton of foundation on my skin, which I'm not a huge fan of, just because I do have very porous skin. And so if I have a heavier foundation on, it's going to be very noticeable and very cakey, which I am definitely not a fan of. And as of right now, it is looking pretty cakey on there, at least in the mirror when I'm looking at it. So, all right, next up we have, I am going to just slap on from Kaleidos, their new contour. I don't have a cream contour on me right now, so I am just going to use this guy real quick to apply the contour, and then we'll get into the brush. So, we'll get into the blush real quick after this, so 2 seconds. Okay, and we're back, and I did also do my brows real quick. Just a real light contour, but now we're gonna jump into the blush, and for that I chose this shade, which is the shade Bliss. I know that a lot of other creators chose that really, really red one that was Selena Gomez's favorite shade, but that was super duper red, and with how pale and pasty I am, that would end up looking real crazy. So I thought it would be better to choose something that I prefer a bit more, which is more of like your burnt rose type shade. That is probably one of my favorite types of blush. I do on occasion really like a peach blush as well, but I thought that this would be a good one. This guy is also on a doe foot. That was a little goopy. Not sure. This is what it looks like with the doe foot. It is very goopy on there, so I think I'm gonna just shake that up a little bit more because that was a little gross. I'm gonna do the pump. Okay, that's looking a little better. And I did notice that everyone was commenting about how pigmented it is. So we're gonna go in real light. So I'm gonna do 1 dab, 2 dabs, and we're just gonna see how that goes before I even do the other side, because I'm not trying to have this go bad. We'll use the foundation brush again, but I'm gonna clean it off here real quick. All right, here we go. Okay, that's I guess you just keep dabbing until it's blended. I am really glad that I didn't go with this super red shade, because this would be that'd be real rough. Okay, I'm just stamping this into place as best I can. It is looking pretty nice. That's a nice shade, I think, for me. It's complimentary. Okay, I think that actually turned out pretty nice. All right, let's go in for cheek number 2. God dang. So when you're trying to pull the doe foots out of the tube, they do stick a bit, and so you do have to exert a little bit of force to get it out, in case you're curious. All right, here we go, round 2. Like having a little bit more of that strong blush on there, and so I think I might do, is half a dab even a thing? I'm gonna wipe the brush off and then the slightest of dabs. Maybe a second. This is where I start to go wrong. Hold me back, guys, because this is what I do. Okay, let's just add a smidgen more so it matches the other side, because I do kind of like how that's looking. I think it's a little bit cute, a little bit of like that doll face type thing that sometimes is popular. I do think it looks nice, so no complaints there, and I think that it blended out way better than I expected. So, and looking at the foundation a little more, it is still super duper cakey on my forehead, definitely around my mouth and chin, and my eyes are also super creasy already. So as far as the foundation and the concealer go, if this continues to stay this way and doesn't like somehow magically melt into my skin here soon, then I'm gonna be real disappointed with it. But the blush, I think, actually is very nice and blended out quite nicely. So I do like the blush product. Next up, let's go ahead and do my eyeballs with the HipDot palette, and then we will jump back in with the lip products. I do have 2 lip products, and so I think depending on how this eye look turns out, I can either go with a deeper shade, which is very fuchsia-y, or I can go with more of the corally pink. And I'm leaning more towards the coral pink, honestly, just because I think the fuchsia is going to be a little bit too pow. I do also have some highlight real quick, so I'm just going to dab that in. I also did not grab the highlight from Rare Beauty just because I've tried liquid highlighters before in the past and I am a disaster with them, and so even more so than cream blushes and contours and everything. So it was for the best for me not to get that one. That would have been a waste of money because I never would have used it. Slapping on a light illuminizer. This one is not particularly glowy. It's just super neutral, just adds a little bit of shine on the side compared to what I usually slap on my face, which is like, ah! I don't know why I'm super into pterodactyl sounds right now, but that's the vibe I'm getting from my sounds for today. So, if you're into that kind of thing. Okay, so just a quick reminder, this is what the HipDot palette looks like. And so I think what I am leaning towards is that I am going to kind of start in this middle row, come over to here, and then come down. So it's starting with more of like the orangey peach shades and then ending with this kind of plummy shade, and then I'll get into the glittery metallics at the end. So the first shade that I'm going to use is Wanderlust. And that is just going to go right in the crease. That is way more pigmented than I expected. Great. This brush, however, fits perfectly into my crease, which is real nice. This is one of the pure brushes that I had gotten in that little case that I showed a couple of videos ago in that massive haul. If I can, I'll throw a card somewhere up here in case you guys want to look at that and see what else I got. I've tried adding cards a couple times and that has not worked, so it's been super fun having to deal with that, because I'm sure everybody appreciates just random references to other videos that I've made, but no way for you to go and look at it besides actually having to go to my channel. Sorry. Okay, that is actually super duper pigmented, so I don't even think I need to add in a second layer. So I am next going to go into, actually I think I'm going to go into Canyon, which is more of an orangey shade, and we're just going to blend that in right below it on the inner corner. Okay, next up after that, I am going to go into Grounded next, which is more of that rusty kind of orangey red, and that's going to go in the middle. I'm not trying to do anything too crazy, but I do want it to be a nice fall look. And so far I think these shades are pigmented enough to where you don't really have to work too hard at it, but at the same time not so pigmented to where if you're a beginner that you have to freak out and be like, oh god, it's too much, how do I deal with this? So I think that this is actually very nice and workable. Next up, pulling towards like 2/3 of the way out of my eye, I'm going to go into the shade Narrows. I do have to say, I am not seeing a ton of difference in the shades so far. Like, they are all super duper similar. I'm just tapping a little bit into Sandstone, which is a very light shade, because I just want to lighten up the front a little bit more. I don't want it to be quite so dark. I'll go back into Wanderlust to blend that out a bit. So far, I am not noticing any fallout whatsoever, which is great. Okay, the last shade that I am going to tap into for the outer corner is going to be the shade Majesty, which is that darker plum shade, just ever so lightly. And I think I'm going to pull it into the inner corner, or not the inner corner, but the under eye. Just a little bit with that same Majesty shade. And then we're going to do the same thing on the under eye, where we kind of blend it back out to where it's those lighter red shades as you continue in a bit more. So that is it so far. I'm just going to clean up over here just a smidge. All right, next up for the metallic shades, I think I am going to go with Angel's Landing for in the center of my eye. See how it does with a brush first before I attempt to go in with my finger. It is packing on pretty nicely and still no fallout, so very impressed with the pigments so far. There's been almost no fallout, yeah, just on the metallic there was like a tiny bit of fallout, but almost no fallout in the pan itself, and almost no fallout on my face either, so that is much appreciated since I did already put my face on. I think the last thing that I am going to do is on the inner corner, I am going to go into the shade Virgin, which is kind of a goldy peachy shade, and I'm just going to do that. Okay, that didn't do a ton, so that shade is definitely fairly sheer, so perhaps just use that as a topper rather than for like the inner corner, because I'm not really noticing a ton. But I do think that so far this is the cleanest eye look I've ever done, where I don't really have to clean anything up. So I'm just gonna throw on some mascara real quick, and then we will come back for the lips as the final thing. And I will let you guys know my thoughts on everything and how I think it did for me, since I am not great with cream. All right, my mascara is on. And I think with this look, yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna stick with the corally look, because I think that the fuchsia would just be too much. Then it would just be like purplish red everywhere. So we're gonna stick with the coral in this particular instance, but I will swatch both of them for you guys so you can see them. So Ascend is the more fuchsia shade, and that guy looks like this. So you can see super duper pink on there. And then the more corally pink is Motivate. And that guy looks like that. So you can see that the two of them next to each other, Motivate is just slightly lighter in shade, whereas the other one is a little bit darker. So we're gonna go with Motivate for today. And they do have a little bit of a sweet scent to them, in case you're curious. Here we go, don't fuck it up. That goes on super matte. What is this again? It's a cream. Okay, matte cream lip. That makes sense, because like looking at this, I was like, why is it like already dry? So it dries almost immediately. So it is super duper matte. As you can see, there's like zero shine with this. Okay, so definitely a super duper matte lip. It doesn't feel dry, so it's not like a liquid lipstick in that like it's noticeably dry, which I think is nice. It's just very soft on your lips, but very matte, as we can see. This is a lot of pink going on my face right now. But it feels nice. My lips are very, very dry right now, and so I would probably have not put this on if I knew that it was going to be this matte, just because since my lips are so dry, it does noticeably like show the cracks and chips and things like that on my lips. Not a fan of that, but it is very comfortable on my lips, and so I do like how it feels. And so I think that if you're looking for a liquid lipstick type finish as far as how it looks, these would be great in the wintertime if you are someone that wants something to be a little bit softer rather than that really dry finish that a liquid lipstick does. So really like the feel of this. I just wish that my lips weren't so dry. Okay, everybody, just wanted to check in real quick with you guys, let you know an update on my face and everything and how it's been going. So I have had this on since about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it is now almost 9 p.m. So about 8 hours that I have worn it. And so I am pretty surprised that there's anything left of the lip color, because I was eating things, drinking out of my water bottle. I am also a lip biter to a certain extent, and so the fact that there's any color left on my lips, not terrible. Pretty impressed with the staying power, because I did not touch this up at all, and so this is just purely what is left from that one coat that I applied at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Almost said morning. I'm gonna come in close. So as far as like for the rest of my face, still very, very cakey. It really just shows my pores so much so, like on my nose, like it's just everywhere, sitting in my fine lines, just on my forehead, very oily, cakey. Like I am not a fan of this foundation or the concealer. It did me not so great. I did not enjoy this at all. As far as the eyeshadow goes, I mean, you can see a lot of the shades are still there. The only thing I will say, so I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it, but I did start to lose some of the color around my crease area. That did start to fade to a certain amount, but when my eyes are open and I'm just looking at you, then it's not terrible. I mean, I think considering how oily my face is in general, the fact that there is this much pigment left on my eyes is pretty decent, and so I'm not upset about that at all. It could also just be that this is primarily just the metallic shades, which metallic shades have a tendency, at least for me, to fade much quicker than matte shades do. And so perhaps if I had just stayed with a solely matte look on my eyes, then all of the color would have stayed, because it does seem to be just primarily in the areas where I applied some of the metallic to my eye. Overall, I think it was pretty good. I really liked the color story in that palette. HipDot, I think, is a company that I would recommend if you guys haven't checked it out yet. But as far as the Rare Beauty stuff goes, the blush is still there a little bit. It's certainly not as pigmented as what it was when I first had applied it, obviously, but it is just a slight flush that's left, and so I do think that I actually enjoy that cream blush. Shocker, because I normally hate cream products, but I think that the blush actually did a decent job. And again, the lip color me super surprised that there's anything left on my lips. So if you were wanting something that lasts, and it still definitely is soft and smooth, and so not at all feeling like it's dried out or anything like that. So very impressed with the lip products. But yeah, that is where we are. That is my initial first impressions on it. So kinda, I don't know. You guys let me know down in the comments what you guys think, if any of you guys have already tried out the Rare Beauty products. If you guys did test out that highlighter and you're mad at me for not testing it out, let me know and I'll go pick it up. Yeah, I'm just real interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it, whether you guys like the look, whether you think that it's also coming across as cakey to you guys. I would love to know your guys' thoughts. If you guys had really good experiences with the Rare Beauty products and you have some tips that you could throw my way, I would love that. But if you enjoyed this first impressions, give me a thumbs up. Again, toss in the comments all of your thoughts and opinions. I would love to hear it. And if you're new here and you enjoy my rapid talking and super chaotic newbie mindset on makeup, where I really don't have a clue what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe. I would love to get to know more of you guys out on here. But other than that, that was it for my for my Rare Beauty and my HipDot first impressions. So you guys just go out and have a good one.